There was a time when the kitchen wasn't just another room in the house. For millions of American families, it was where the day began, where problems were quietly solved, and where some of life's most ordinary moments became the memories people still carry decades later. If you grew up hearing the steady bubble of a percolator before sunrise, smelling bacon or fresh bread before you even opened your bedroom door, or watching your mother or grandmother already busy while the rest of the house was still asleep, then chances are you remember more of these old kitchen habits than you realize. But here's the surprising part. Most of these habits didn't disappear all at once. They slipped away so quietly that many families never noticed they were gone until years later, when the kitchen became faster, quieter, and somehow less personal. And by the end of this video, there's a good chance you'll remember at least one habit you haven't thought about in years. Before we begin, I'd love to ask you something. Which old kitchen smell takes you back instantly? Fresh bread, bacon grease, morning coffee, or something baking in the oven? Tell us in the comments. Sometimes one familiar smell brings back an entire lifetime. Because for many older Americans, memory doesn't begin in the living room. It begins in the kitchen. It begins with the scrape of a chair across the floor, the clink of glass jars, the soft hum of the refrigerator, a pie cooling by the window, and a voice calling, "Don't touch that yet, it's still hot." And perhaps no habit says more about that generation than the very first one. There was a version of frugality that had nothing to do with saving money. It had to do with what you were willing to throw away. And in most kitchens of that era, the answer was almost nothing. Leftover bacon grease went into a coffee can or a glass jar beside the stove. Bread that had gone a little stale wasn't thrown away, it became toast, bread pudding, stuffing, or breadcrumbs. Chicken bones became broth. Vegetable scraps became soup stock. Yesterday's supper often became the beginning of tomorrow's meal. To children, it simply looked normal. To the adults who had lived through harder times, it was something much deeper. Here's something many younger Americans never realized. During the hardest years of the Great Depression, countless families threw away almost nothing that could still be eaten. Today, the average American household wastes nearly a third of the food it buys. That single number holds a story most people never stop to think about. Because this wasn't simply frugality. It was memory. Many mothers and grandmothers carried the lessons of the Depression into the 1950s and 1960s. Even when life became more comfortable, wasting food still felt wrong. They knew exactly how to turn one leftover potato, half an onion, and a spoonful of drippings into another complete meal. Today people call it resourcefulness. Back then, nobody called it anything at all. It was simply what a loving home looked like. And once that mindset began to fade, something else in the kitchen quietly went with it, not the food this time, but the rhythm of the day itself. The kitchen no longer followed the same rhythm. Not because families stopped caring. Because life itself began moving faster. If you asked a child in the 1950s what was for supper, most of them wouldn't have needed to ask at all. In many American homes, the day followed an unwritten schedule that almost never changed. Breakfast came at the same hour each morning. Lunch had its own place in the day. Friday often meant fish, Sunday almost always meant a roast, and Saturday was usually reserved for baking, cleaning out the icebox, or getting everything ready for church the following morning. Fathers came home expecting familiar meals, and neighbors often lived by the very same routine. Looking back, it wasn't the food people remember most. It was the comfort of knowing exactly how the day would unfold, one meal at a time. Today, meals are often squeezed between appointments, eaten in the car, or picked up on the way home. The kitchen still feeds people, but it no longer sets the rhythm of family life the way it once did. But that quiet rhythm left something behind, something you could actually hold in your hands. Long before recipes lived on phones or websites, they lived inside worn recipe boxes, folded cookbooks, and kitchen drawers. Measurements were written in pencil along the edges of old pages. A pie crust trick from a neighbor. A gravy secret passed down from one sister to another. A casserole recipe that appeared at every Thanksgiving, every church supper, and every family gathering for as long as anyone could remember. Some cards were stained with butter, vanilla, or flour, and those stains often told their own story. They showed which recipes had been made hundreds of times and which ones had comforted a family through holidays, celebrations, and even funerals. To anyone outside the family, they were only recipes. To the people who inherited them, they were handwritten memories that could still be held in their hands. And yet, the most valuable thing a mother passed down was never actually written on a card at all. Many older Americans remember watching their mothers or grandmothers cook without measuring anything at all. A pinch of salt. A little more flour. Just enough milk. You'll know when it looks right, they would say, leaving younger cooks completely puzzled. How could someone bake biscuits or make gravy without carefully checking a recipe every few minutes? The answer was simple. They had prepared those same meals so many times that the recipe no longer lived on paper. It lived in their hands. There was a quiet confidence in the way they moved around the kitchen, never rushing, never doubting, simply knowing when the dough felt right or when the gravy had reached exactly the right consistency. Looking back, many people realized they weren't only watching someone cook. They were watching years of experience, patience, and care quietly reveal themselves in every meal. That same quiet confidence showed up somewhere else too, in a kitchen that never once tried to impress anyone. Plates didn't always match, towels were washed and reused until they wore thin, glass jars found a second life as storage containers, and aluminum foil was carefully folded to be used again another day. Nothing about it felt embarrassing because nearly every family lived the same way. The kitchen wasn't trying to impress visitors. It was simply doing its job. Ironically, many people now spend thousands of dollars trying to recreate the warmth and authenticity of those old kitchens, when the original version never came from expensive decorations at all. It came from people who valued usefulness far more than perfection. That way of thinking didn't fade slowly. It changed almost overnight. As microwave ovens found their way into American homes during the 1970s, everyday cooking gradually became less about slow preparation and more about speed. Meals that once simmered on the stove for an hour could suddenly be reheated in little more than a minute. The convenience was undeniable, but something else quietly disappeared alongside it. The long conversations while supper cooked, the patient stirring of soup, the habit of checking the oven together, and the simple feeling that the kitchen was the busiest room in the house all began to fade a little more with every passing year. And before we move on, I'd love to hear one more memory from you. What was one thing your mother or grandmother always reused in the kitchen that people almost never save today? Sometimes it's the smallest detail, a coffee can, a flour sack, or an old glass jar, that brings back an entire lifetime in just a few seconds. But the kitchen wasn't only a place where meals were prepared. It was also where the next generation quietly learned what it meant to become part of a family. Long before cooking became a hobby or a weekend activity, it was simply another responsibility shared by everyone under the same roof. Not because it was considered fun, and certainly not because anyone was trying to create special memories. It was simply part of growing up. One child dried the dishes. Another set the table. Someone snapped green beans while another peeled potatoes or watched a younger brother or sister while supper finished cooking. Nobody gathered the family together and announced that they were making memories. They simply worked alongside one another, and somewhere between the small chores, conversations naturally appeared. A funny story from years ago. Gentle teasing between brothers and sisters. Advice that sounded ordinary at the time but stayed with children for the rest of their lives. Looking back, many older Americans realized those moments taught far more than cooking. They quietly taught patience, responsibility, and the comforting feeling that everyone in the family had a place where they belonged. And that sense of belonging didn't stop at the family's own front door. If there was one thing an old American kitchen was almost always ready for, it was someone knocking on the back door. Not because guests had called ahead, most didn't. Somehow, there was nearly always a cake resting beneath its cover, cookies waiting inside a familiar tin, and fresh coffee only moments away. A neighbor might stop by after church. A relative could arrive without calling ahead. A friend from town might knock on the back door simply to visit for a while. Nobody worried about whether the house looked perfect. What mattered was that there was always something to share and somewhere comfortable to sit. More often than not, those conversations happened around the kitchen table instead of the formal living room, because the kitchen had never been about appearances. It had always been about making people feel welcome. That same sense of occasion even reached into a cabinet most children knew never to touch. The good china sat carefully wrapped inside a cabinet or hutch, waiting for an occasion important enough to deserve it. Christmas dinner. A wedding shower. A birthday that felt especially meaningful. The pastor coming to visit. The rest of the year, everyday meals were served on ordinary plates without the slightest complaint. Somehow, simply knowing those special dishes were waiting made important days feel even more important. Children were reminded not to touch them. Mothers washed them carefully by hand, dried each piece slowly, and placed everything back exactly where it belonged. Today, many homes no longer keep a special set of dishes tucked away for future celebrations. Everything is used every day, or nothing is treated as especially precious. Yet those carefully protected plates quietly reflected something much larger than dinner itself. They reminded a family that some moments in life deserve to feel different from all the others. Perhaps that is why so many older Americans remember what happened after the meal almost as clearly as the meal itself. Nobody seemed to rush away the moment the meal had ended. The dishes might still be soaking in warm water. A newspaper rested on one corner of the table. Someone poured another cup of coffee while another person leaned back in the chair just a little longer. This was often when the most honest conversations finally appeared. Family stories were retold. Everyday worries were shared. Gentle disagreements came and went. Advice was offered, even when nobody had asked for it. Looking back, many people realize that the strongest family memories were often created after the meal had finished, when nobody felt hurried and everyone simply enjoyed being together for a little while longer. And those lingering evenings were often tied to foods that existed nowhere else except inside one particular family. A certain soup made every winter. A pie that appeared every Thanksgiving. Potato salad prepared exactly the way one side of the family insisted it had always been made. Cornbread baked inside the same heavy black skillet year after year. Not because they were expensive or famous, but because they belonged to that household alone. These recipes became part of the family's own language. They reminded everyone where they came from and who had prepared them before. The meal itself didn't need to be extraordinary. It simply needed to taste like home. There is one memory, however, that almost every older American carries, even if they've never put it into words. It isn't tied to a particular recipe or a favorite meal. It's the quiet realization that every family, without knowing it, eventually shares one ordinary day that later becomes unforgettable. Somewhere in every family's story, there was a last time. The last time a mother stood at that familiar stove and baked the pie everyone loved. The last time she stirred the soup the same careful way she always had. The last time biscuits came out of the oven while someone impatiently asked if they were ready yet. Nobody circled that date on a calendar. Nobody paused long enough to think they should watch a little more closely or ask one more question. It looked exactly like every ordinary afternoon that had come before it. Only years later did someone suddenly realize that they would never again see those same hands prepare another family meal. By then, there was no way to go back, to stand quietly in the doorway for just a few more minutes, or to ask her to show you exactly how she made that one recipe everyone assumed would always be there. That is why these memories become so powerful. Not simply because they were happy, but because nobody realized they were slowly becoming memories while they were still living them. And perhaps that is also why so many people remember the sounds of an old kitchen long before they remember the meals themselves. The gentle clatter of pans. Water running into the sink. The steady bubbling of a percolator. A cabinet opening and closing. The screen door snapping softly as someone stepped outside for a moment. For many children, those sounds meant far more than breakfast was on the way. They meant the day had begun exactly as it always did. Someone dependable was already awake. The house was alive. Modern homes are often quieter than the ones many older Americans remember. Every family member now seems to begin the day separately, moving from room to room without crossing paths. The old kitchen announced itself. It reminded everyone that home was already awake before they even opened their bedroom door. Those familiar sounds usually gathered around one place more than any other. And looking back, many people realize it may have been the hardest working piece of furniture in the entire house. Bills were paid there at the end of the month. Homework was finished there before bedtime. Coupons were clipped there. Green beans were snapped there while supper simmered nearby. A child cried there after a difficult day at school. A father quietly worried over family finances there long after everyone else had gone to bed. It wasn't simply where meals were served. It was where everyday life unfolded. Practical problems, family celebrations, difficult conversations, and ordinary moments all happened around the very same table. Somehow, that single table managed to hold an entire family's life without anyone ever thinking it was unusual. And perhaps the thing older Americans miss most cannot be placed inside a recipe box or stored inside a kitchen cabinet. It was something much quieter than that, and yet it may have mattered more than all the others. Life certainly wasn't perfect. Families argued. Money was often tight. There were days filled with worry and disappointment, just as there are today. But the kitchen created countless ordinary opportunities to pay attention. Someone noticed a child who seemed quieter than usual. Someone placed another biscuit on a father's plate after a long day without saying a word. Someone could tell that mother looked exhausted simply by the way she leaned against the counter for a moment before returning to her work. Acts of care rarely arrived as grand gestures. They appeared quietly, woven into the ordinary rhythm of everyday life, so naturally that nobody thought to call them special at the time. And those quiet routines were held together by something almost nobody had to explain out loud. Wash your hands before touching the food. Wait your turn if someone was using the stove. Never slam the icebox door. Don't interrupt someone carrying a hot pan across the room. At first glance, they sounded like simple household rules. Looking back, they taught something much larger. They taught respect for food, appreciation for hard work, care for the tools that made daily life possible, and gratitude for the person who spent hours preparing every meal. One simple fact helps explain why so many of these habits quietly disappeared. Through much of the middle of the 20th century, the average American woman spent close to 4 hours every day preparing meals and caring for the kitchen. Today, that number is closer to 30 minutes. Whether that change represents progress, necessity, or simply a different way of living, it helps explain why the kitchen no longer occupies the same place it once did. Families simply spend far less time there than they did a generation or two ago. And perhaps that is what people are really remembering when they talk about the old kitchen. Not the bacon grease jar beside the stove. Not the enamel mixing bowls. Not the worn recipe cards or even the smell of supper drifting through the house. They are remembering a way of life where usefulness and affection quietly lived side by side. A place where love rarely needed to announce itself because it appeared every single day in small, practical ways. If they could return to those kitchens today, many older Americans wouldn't go back simply to eat one more meal. They would go back for the feeling that everything was going to be all right. That someone was already awake before sunrise. That supper would be ready before long. That the house still had its familiar rhythm. And that everyone inside it still belonged to one another. So when people say they miss the old kitchen habits, they are usually talking about something much deeper than recipes or routines. They are remembering a time when care had a rhythm, when love repeated itself in ordinary acts of service, day after day, without ever needing to be explained. If one of these memories found its way back to you today, I'd love to know which one stayed with you the longest. Was it the jar of bacon grease beside the stove, the worn recipe cards tucked inside a kitchen drawer, the sound of the morning percolator, or perhaps something your own family did that has quietly disappeared over the years? Share it in the comments, because sometimes one family's memory feels remarkably like everyone else's.